9 million years ago, in the warm plankton-rich waters off the coast of South America, a giant megalodon could sense prey nearby. But although he didn't know it, an equally ferocious mega carnivore had beat him to it. A predator so deadly that its teeth are the largest to have ever been discovered, Leviathan. This carnivore ruled the ancient seas with an iron fist, extending its dominion across much of the globe. But after surviving for millions of years, this gargantuan suddenly disappeared. So what exactly happened to the real-life Leviathan? It turns out that while it may have been one of the largest predators to ever swim, it would ultimately be replaced by the smartest. The story begins not hundreds of years ago, but in November of 2008. During a regular fossil expedition to the Pisco Formation in Peru, researchers stumbled upon its enormous remains. The formation was already famous for hosting some amazing fossil creatures, such as those of the marine sloth Thalassocnus. Just as they were about to leave, a partial skull was spotted jutting out the rock, and when fully excavated, some teeth and a lower jaw were found. When they were taken back to the lab for identification, it was found that they didn't come from some giant shark, but instead from an ancient sperm whale. This immense size and predatory lifestyle led researchers to give it the name Leviathan. But since that name had already been used for mastodons in the past, Leviathan was changed to Leviathan, the original Hebrew name for the mythical sea monster. So when exactly did Leviathan live? The fossils were originally dated to 12 million years ago in the Miocene, but later revisions suggested a more recent date of 9 million years ago. Since the original discovery in Peru, paleontologists have uncovered very similar giant teeth across the world. But because of the incomplete nature of the fossils, it's more than likely that they actually represent many different species or possibly even genera. Spanning from as early as 14 million years ago to as recent as 5 million years ago, they show significant variation in size. The first remains, like those found in Argentina, are almost half the size as those from the Pliocene, indicating that something caused them to explode in size. With all the fossils having come from the southern hemisphere, it made sense to assume that they were confined to that side of the world. But in 2023, their fossils were found in California. Well, they were actually found in the 1990s, but dismissed as modern sperm whale teeth. This find was huge as it debunked the southern hemisphere hypothesis and indicated that they may have had a worldwide distribution. The biggest tooth found, from South Africa, measured 32 centimeters, but here's the strange part. It came from a juvenile. We know this because it had a pulp cavity like modern belugas and sperm whales, a trait that disappears as they reach adulthood. So to answer the question you've all been waiting for, how big could Leviathan grow? Well, as always, as we don't have its complete skeleton, it's impossible to say for sure. To get an estimate, we can compare features we do have and then scale them up to proportion. But the length varies wildly between using different kinds of sperm whale. For example, if we scale it up based on the proportions of modern sperm whales, we get a length of 13.5 meters. Still massive, right? But if we use Zygophyceta, a more closely related extinct species, we get an estimate of 17.5 meters. So basically, no matter what, this animal was incredibly big. So why did Leviathan become so big in the first place? Well, one reason may be predator avoidance, because whilst a carnivore itself, it shared the ocean with the likes of Megalodon, which would have likely been able to take down their calves. But the more likely reason was because being big helped to feed upon colossal prey. Because at such huge sizes, Leviathan wasn't eating squid, it was eating other whales. Along with Megalodon, it sat at the very top of the food chain. Its position meant that this animal would have had a profound impact upon the Miocene's marine environments. Fossil evidence shows us that medium-sized baleen whales up to 10 meters long made up most of its diet. And it probably also hunted dolphins and sharks as snacks. Whilst today's sperm whales hunt in the deep ocean in pursuit of giant squid, Leviathan would have likely hunted much closer to the surface. It's been suggested that they hunted in a similar way to the orca, the ocean's current apex predator. Teaming up in groups, they chase down prey until it gets exhausted and then drown it. Orcas hunt in packs as on their own they wouldn't have the strength to take down a whale. But given its far greater size, Leviathan may have been able to take down whales by itself. Recent isotope analysis has contradicted earlier hypotheses of its diet, however. The study which analysed teeth found in Chile showed that although larger marine mammals made up a lot of their diet, they also ate smaller animals. Regardless, its features show clear adaptations for hunting big prey. For one, Leviathan's massive jaws gave it the biggest bite of any known animal, greater than even Megalodon. Unlike the sperm whales of today, Leviathan had teeth in both jaws, which carefully interlocked to create a shearing force. Working like a pair of scissors, this could slice off flesh in an instant. We know that they were used like this because their teeth show significant damage and scratch marks where they would have come into contact. The teeth also reach deep into the gums, which would have allowed them to withstand struggling prey without becoming loose, which was a necessary adaptation given the type of animals they hunted. And like I said before, the teeth themselves, excluding tusks, are the longest of any known animal. While you can learn a lot about a species by taking a look at the range of animals it hunted, its evolutionary relationships also reveal a wealth of information. So where exactly does Leviathan fit into our understanding of the tree of life? Leviathan was part of a stem group of hyperpredatory toothed whales, which are more commonly known as the macroraptorial sperm whales. Despite this position, they would have resembled modern sperm whales more closely than any of their closest relatives, because unlike species such as Zygophyceta, Leviathan had a more concave head instead of a snout. The reason for this is both because of differences in hunting style and because Leviathan's head housed a huge spermaceti organ. We can tell this because even though they don't preserve in fossils, the massive supracranial basin was certainly filled with something. Sperm whales get their name from this organ, which evolved to aid in echolocation by greatly enhancing the distance and magnitude of their calls. It has also been speculated that sperm whales use this organ to control their buoyancy and stay submerged for long periods of time. But because that wouldn't have helped Leviathan, it's more speculation than anything. Their size also makes them more closely resemble modern sperm whales, as their raptorial cousins were much smaller, measuring 4 to 7 meters. It's possible that some of Leviathan's adaptations are ancestral to them and modern sperm whales, as Leviathan split off millions of years after the other macroraptorial sperm whales. Besides communication and prey detection, the organ may have also been used to create a sound so piercing that it stunned any prey in the vicinity, leading to an easier catch. But it's also possible that it evolved to be used as a battering ram between fighting males. Fighting between males in the mating season has never been documented in modern sperm whales, but they have on occasion fought back against whaling ships by headbutting them. This may explain why these organs are so disproportionately larger in males. More astonishingly than this, however, is just how much prey Leviathan would need to satisfy its hunger. Sperm whales eat 500,000 calories each and every day, and since Leviathan hunted much more difficult prey, it likely had an even greater caloric need. To understand why an animal evolved in a certain way, it's always worth taking a look at the environment it adapted to. The waters of South America's coast were very different in Leviathan's time. For one, the Central American Seaway was still open. This allowed the warm water from the Caribbean to float down South America, leading to a lush environment brimming with aquatic vegetation. This is further supported by the existence of several large fossil turtles in the same formation Leviathan was first discovered in, suggesting that seagrass was plentiful. The warm waters also led to a much stranger creature too, the marine sloth Thalassocnus. This ground sloth fed in the coastal waters and was likely a prey item for Megalodon, and possibly even Leviathan. Sharks were common too, with thousands of their teeth being found. The abundance of high-level carnivores suggests an incredible diversity of prey. This ecosystem collapsed as North and South America collided, restricting the water flow and making the waters too cold to support seagrass. But by then, Leviathan was already extinct, having disappeared entirely from the fossil record 5 million years ago in the early Pliocene. So what caused one of the biggest predators of all time to disappear? The leading theory is that Leviathan was wiped out by the gradual cooling of the planet. Baleen whales, which constituted most of their diet, peaked in diversity during the Miocene at 20 genera. As glaciers formed, the lower sea levels caused plankton diversity around the poles to explode. Along with bigger bodies helping them keep warm, the increased seasonal variation required large migrating animals. This explains why the biggest animal to ever exist, the blue whale, appeared only recently in the fossil record. In the tropics, however, the cooler conditions only led to less productive ecosystems, and many of the medium-sized baleen whales died out. In fact, today, only 6 genera remain. Being big was great for Leviathan. It enabled it to eat bigger prey than any modern creature could ever dream of. But when its favorite foods died out, it was left with nothing to eat. Leviathan's extinction left the role of oceanic apex predator wide open, and orcas soon took their place. The exact same forces that brought down Leviathan also caused the extinction of Megalodon, who both preyed upon the same species.